Yeah, there were a couple of computers in particular that were still brand new in their box, like 35 years old. And one of them was kind of special to me. It was my very first computer, or the same version of it,
Hmm.
Packard Bell 486 from the early 90s. And that thing probably got the most water of anything else. And this was that nasty hurricane water with all the gunk from the roof and everything soaking into it, soaked the outside. That it looked toast. It completely looked trashed. But then once it got on the inside, and down past the layers of all the paper and the cardboard and everything else, it actually just had the slightest bit of gunk, and that was about it.
Wow.
I was really shocked that that survived as well as it did. And yeah, I mean that's kind of the same story throughout most of what I recovered down there. But anything that was just exposed without any kind of protection, yeah, that I mean, there's some of those things that are still disgusting smelling, and I don't know if I'll ever end up getting that smell out of there. Who knows?
What drew you to the path to rebuild as opposed to relocate?
I mean, yeah, definitely. When it first happened, I was very much thinking that, well, this is it. This is it. I'm done with this kind of thing. Here, I'm done with this hobby. I'm done with this channel. All the things go through my mind as I'm seeing everything, what looked to be pretty well crushed. But as soon as I started uncovering things and started getting the help from, the community, the viewers, family, friends, neighbors, everybody coming through to just sort through things and help out, and seeing how much of it really wasn't destroyed and was not only salvageable, but kind of getting a second chance. I felt like getting a second chance myself through that in a way, and being rebuilt alongside the community. And yeah, I mean, again, neighbors, family, friends, people locally, seeing all of that really reinforced, like, I don't want to go anywhere here. And this does,
Mhm.
be different if I lived on a coast or something, and I was more expecting this to happen more and more often. I mean, maybe, again, you never really know, but this did seem like a very rare kind of thing. So that can, and of course, combined with insurance actually working out. If things hadn't worked out, like unfortunately with my neighbors, they're having to pursue legal action or whatever just
Oh,
because of theirs isn't working at
mhm.
all. And they weren't able to get the help they need, and they still haven't started rebuilding at all. So if I were in that kind of situation, it'd be different, but very, very fortunate to have most things, slowly but surely working out in terms of monetary, and, of course, more importantly, just the personal support from people. Just encouraging me to continue. Honestly, that's been the biggest thing.
Well, and take the experience about to your neighbors, the neighborhood that you're in, and out here on the coast, everybody thinks about, hey, how'd the beach do, and they forget that the people who wait the tables and do the laundry and make the beds live on the sound side, and out here with in the same situation in Asheville, everybody thinks Biltmore's open. The you know
Yeah.
the I mean, you know, are we going to be able to go build gingerbread houses in December? But there's people who actually live in these communities that were devastated by Helene. What's the been how's things gone in your neighborhood and in the community as a whole over these last 11 months?
It is extremely unpredictable. It depends on literally which road you go down
Mhm.
and which community, which even little corner of a community you're in. I mean, even in my part of Asheville, like there's a section where I'm at where it looks like, a hurricane went through. And then you go down a road over and everything is untouched. So, yeah, it's that coming to terms with that has been really difficult, I guess, because everybody is in such a completely unique situation. So, it kind of depends on who you ask and where you go, but overall, I would say it's more positive than anything at the moment. People are finally getting, mostly, to the point of being able to start going back to, or having rebuilt their positions, and wherever their workplaces were, or recreating some of their shops and stuff downtown, or not
Mhm.
downtown, but like around the River Arts
Mhm.
District
Yeah.
in particular,
Yeah.
things like that. That is, even if it's a makeshift situation, I'd say overall the vibes are really good. It's very Asheville and very uh, ready
Yeah.
to go, and like ready to just move on. People are so tired of it all. We're just ready to move
Mhm.
on, no matter even if things are rebuilt or not. And yeah, sure, a lot of the bigger things, I guess, really weren't that badly hurt in terms of the touristy kind of things, but you still go to like Biltmore Village and it's a complete wreck, and
Yeah.
it's crazy. Like that
Right.
area down there. I just had a friend come in into town to see that just for the first time a
Hmm.
few weeks ago, and he was completely under the impression that all that had been put back, and it's pretty much none of it has. I think there's
Mhm.
like one restaurant that's been rebuilt down there that,
Wow.
and yeah, it's very slow, but again, highly, highly positive overall, or at least people are showing that.
Yeah. I was actually in Biltmore Village. I was in Asheville once 7 days before Helene hit. And
Yeah.
to
Oh,
see the imagery from Biltmore Village alone of the flooding, but your experience has been with the tree damage. And we talk
Right.
so much about, on a weather podcast and what we do covering the weather like we do, so much about the water threats, here on the coast. And we don't talk as much about the tree threats, but you've experienced firsthand that. What going into the storm would you like to have seen done differently? What, as someone who's not as tied into the weather as like we are, what would you have rather seen differently the next time a system like this threatened?
I wish I had an answer to that.
Mm,
I honestly don't feel that they could have necessarily done much better, at least in terms of
okay.
like local news and local
Mhm,
weather and local reporting. Like, obviously nobody expected it to be that bad, especially in
mhm,
regards, at least in my experience, the wind. I don't know. I guess I wish I had known more about the risks of all the stuff that happened before the hurricane, which really
mm,
seems to be the big
yeah.
issue in my case because my yard was under that 20 some inches of rain or whatever we had, and
right.
everything was just a marsh kind of situation, and I genuinely had no idea that that kind of thing could be so extremely risky when it comes to such tall healthy trees. I mean, they were
Mhm,
really big and healthy. I literally had an arborist out there the week before to trim and take down other trees to make sure that things were going to be okay for the hurricane
Uh,
season and whatnot. And all the trees that were marked as okay, those are the ones that came down. Those are the
mhm,
ones that got ruined and wrecked the house. The big giant pines and the huge oaks and things like that. In my neighborhood and pretty much everywhere else that got that kind of wind, just again, it was like 30 minutes. It was like 30 minutes of just this sustained nonsense that took everything out so quickly. And I guess I just was aware that that could happen.
mhm.
that sounds really frustrating because what I'm hearing you say is you did all the things you think
Right.
you were supposed to
Yeah.
do,
Right.
and yet here we are. You mentioned earlier you were working with insurance companies. I don't know if FEMA was involved or other response organizations. What has been your experience with those response organizations?
Everybody that I've reached out to in terms of FEMA and some, local assistance and things like that, groups just offering help, have been completely helpful and as much as they possibly could. FEMA didn't do a whole lot in my case because I did have insurance that covered most everything. So I pretty much just did the I don't know, I guess what was that minimum $750 kind of thing. I got
Hmm.
that, and that was about it.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I qualified for, and I'm like, no, that's fine. And as far as I know, like the people that were in my immediate neighborhood, they had really good experiences too, especially in some of the other neighbors who have been fighting insurance so much. And
Mm,
yeah, I know they were able to get temporary housing through them and stuff like that. So
okay.
in my own personal experience, everybody that I've reached out to has been great, and like local churches and relief groups and things like that, or the Operation Airdrop people that
Yeah. Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. That it's been awesome just to see people come out of the woodwork, like kind of literally at one point with chainsaws coming out of the woods, and just they made it happen.
Mhm.
And yeah, I pretty much have in my own personal experience nothing but good things to say. Again, though, I know that's not everybody's result.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, disasters can bring out the best in people and really bring this community together in ways that they may not have under different circumstances. You also mentioned your broader community, your YouTube community, your virtual community. What has the response been like from them, and how has it made you feel?
Incredible. Honestly,
Mhm,
I really never expected to, you never expect to have to make that kind of a video where you're like, well, I
mhm.
don't know what the future is of anything anymore. But that was immediately overwhelming, especially once I finally got cell service back,
Yeah.
because there was a while there I had no way to communicate with anybody or
Mhm.
anything, not even family. There were no phones, there was no internet, there was no nothing. And yeah, once it did, I mean, it was literally several hundred messages just in text form alone, much less things on the internet.